This year, I've had the honor and privilege of talking one-on-one with hundreds of web designers and WordPress developers, and if you take into account the people I've reached through Zoom calls and webinars and online trainings, it's like thousands. So I thought what would be fun would be to kind of tally up all the stats and do a top 5 list of the most commonly asked questions this year so that we could have like top 5 takeaways from 2022. So let's do it. Number 5. What do I do if I'm a jack of all trades but master of none? This is such a commonly asked question. It comes up all the time because there's a lot of people, especially in the WordPress world, that feel like they're pretty decent at a wide variety of things, but they've never really had the opportunity to like double down on anything in particular to achieve like mastery or like expert level status in that thing. Consequently, when they get hired to do something, they feel limited in what they can charge because they're only decently good at it. So what do you do? Well, here's the thing. I actually think you can make more money as a jack of all trades in the context of running your own business, working with your own clients, as opposed to just being like super good at one thing. And here's the trick. Take a collection of like 3 to 5 things that you feel like you do the best. The stuff that you have the most experience in, that you can charge the most for, the most confidence in, your clients get the best results from. Like take those 3 to 5 things and put them into a product, like bundle them together into a product, and then have people either buy or subscribe to that product. And if you do that, I guarantee you will at least triple your revenue doing it that way. Call it a solution-first agency. I'll actually put a link in the description if you want to see a whole video workshop on exactly how to build a solution-first agency, but that's the trick. And another thing too, if you want to see an example of like how we do it, check out Blue Theory. It's like you can copy and paste our most popular web design package, which is like a 5-pillar offer, into your business, and I'll put a link in the description for that too. You can just click that, you can see what's in our package and everything, and if you want my help, you can actually join Blue Theory and we can do it together, or you can at least see what the package is all about just by clicking the link. So that's the idea. If you're a jack of all trades, create a productized bundle of your best stuff and have people subscribe or purchase that bundle so that you're doing all of your best stuff at the same time for all of your clients. And that's the way to make a lot of money as a jack of all trades. Number 4. Why do agencies mark up my rates so much? So this is sort of a collection of questions where it has to do with when people are either working for an agency or maybe they're taking overflow work from an agency and they just want to kind of go out on their own, get their own clients. And they're thinking, wow, these agencies are charging so much more than what I would charge. If I could have direct access to this client, I could do like everything that the agency is doing, plus maybe even more, a little more than that for like half the price. Now, I am going to put a disclaimer out there. I do know that there are some agencies that kind of abuse their clients. They take advantage of the fact that the clients don't really know what's going on. They mark up the prices, don't really have to do a lot of stuff because nobody's looking under the hood, and they're taking advantage of their clients. I'm not talking about that. Like, push that off to the side. What I'm thinking is there's 2 things that are really kind of sneaky that a lot of people, when they start out their own web agency, they kind of overlook these 2 things with regard to their pricing. And here's what they are. Number 1, the cost of client acquisition. Like agencies that have been around for a long time understand that it costs money to get leads. Where when you go out on your own, a lot of times, like maybe even for the whole first year, almost all of your clients might be coming in from word of mouth referrals, and those are free. And so that there's really no cost to that client acquisition except for the fact that it's volatile. So it's an opportunity cost in the sense that you don't have like a lot of consistent leads coming in, but when the leads do come in, they're basically free. You don't have to pay any money for them. And so it's easy for web designers to think, well, when I start up my own business, all of my leads are free. So it just doesn't occur to you to think about building into the project the cost of acquiring the client. And instead, you just think, well, how long is it going to take? How much work is involved? How much effort? Whatever. What are the costs of implementing the project without thinking about the cost of actually acquiring the project in the first place? So that's one thing to make sure that you bake into your pricing. The second thing is the difference between salary and profit. Salary is what you pay yourself as your own employee. Like if you start up your own business and you're serious about it, you're not just being a freelancer, you actually want to start up your own business, you're going to need to have 2 things that you keep in mind. One is, what is the cost of implementing each project? And that cost will include your salary. The other thing is, what's going on in the business? Is the business being profitable? So that means you have to have a profit margin that goes above and beyond what you actually pay yourself. So when you think about the cost of implementing the project, most of the cost is going to be your own work, like your own time. There'll be some other things too, like maybe you've got to buy some software, maybe there's an ad spend or something like that. But most of the work is going to be you, and you're doing it for yourself. So like you kind of have these 2 different hats that you're wearing. One is I'm actually my own employee, and the other is I'm actually my own boss. Most of the time, people don't think about the fact that the business itself needs to profit, and therefore there's no profit margin really baked into the price of projects. So if you're going out on your own, make sure you include those 2 costs as part of the way that you figure out what the price of the project is going to be, the cost of acquiring the client, and the profit margin of the project. Number 3, why do I keep attracting cheap clients? Now there's 2 common problems here. There's a lot of little issues, but by far and away, there's 2 things that happen almost all the time, and here's what they are. One of them has to do with reputation, the other has to do with alignment. The reputation problem is, especially if you have just started your business and you've only been in business for like a year or so, a lot of times all the leads that come in come from friends and family, because friends and family know you just started your business and they start sending in referrals. And then you feel like, well, I got to do a really good job because it's my friends and my family, but I also want to give them a discounted price because they're my friends and my family. And then the next thing you know, you develop this reputation as somebody who builds really great websites, does really great work for this really discounted price, and you get into this flow of low ticket leads. The solution to get out of the flow of low ticket leads is to develop a productized offer, and you price the product rather than pricing your services. And so you would say something like we just talked about in the earlier questions, was like you create a solution first agency where you have a collection of like 3 to 5 of the things that you do the best. You bundle that into a product and you have people subscribe to the product, and you price the product rather than pricing the services. And then it doesn't feel so awkward, and you don't have to say that I've raised my rates or anything like that. You just have a product and the product has a price. And that will do wonders for breaking the flow of these low ticket leads. Now, the other problem is an alignment issue. And what that means is a lot of times, like you and I might do like a site review, be on a call together, do a site review, and I'll look at your site and I'll say, well, tell me what kind of clients you normally get. And you might say, well, most of the people calling me are looking for like websites for less than $1,000. And then I'll be looking at a page on your website that offers websites for less than $1,000. So it's clearly making sense to me that people are seeing that offer on your site and they're calling you to take you up on the offer. And then you're feeling frustrated by it because in your heart, you know that you could do better work, get better results if they could just do a higher budget project. And so then I'll say, well, what would you really like to be selling? Like, well, I want people to sign up for these $10,000 packages that we talk about on the site. And I say, okay, well, show me the page on your site where you're talking about the $10,000 package. 404. There's no page. It's page not found, right? It's like that's not on the site. And so what ends up happening is you have this misalignment between what you're saying publicly with what you're believing privately. And if you can bring those 2 things into alignment where you're actually talking about and marketing the actual thing that you want people to buy, then of course that brings about better results. But it's so sneaky that I thought I'd mention it here because those are the 2 problems. 1, the reputation, the other, the alignment. Number 2, what do you think of my website? This is the second most common question that comes up almost every single time I talk anywhere. People want to know what I think about their websites. It's hard to give a general answer to such an individualized question, but I got a couple things that really can stand out. But if you want to do an in-depth site review with me, jump into Blue Theory, even if it's just for a month, and I will personally go through your entire website and kind of help you get more leads from your website itself. So check that out. But here's where most of the time, the problem starts with the headline. The headline is too broad, generic, and vague, and people just read the headline, they think garden variety web designer and bounce. An example of a vague headline would be something like, we create high-performance websites that help you build momentum. It's like, well, what does that mean? What does high performance mean? And what is momentum? It's like, I don't know if I want that. I don't even know who it's for. So it's like, that's the problem. So if you want to actually pull leads from your website, you need a headline that does 3 things. The first thing is it has to answer who is it for. Like, is it for local businesses? Is it for e-commerce businesses? Is it for national brands? It's like, you got to answer who it's for. Otherwise, I won't think it's for me. Like if it's a one size fits all, it's almost always the case that people feel like they're not really part of the all. It's like, does this really apply to me? And then the second thing is, you got to tell me what the outcome is. Because if the outcome is something like build momentum, nobody's running around worrying about whether or not their business is building momentum. Like that's not a pain point that people have. And if that's what you're offering to solve, you're not going to pull leads from that. So you got to have an outcome that people really want. And then the third thing is, why does it work? It's you can't even give something away for free unless somebody understands why you're giving it to them. So like if you're expecting people to actually hire you to do something, you have to explain why it works. So here's an example of a headline that hits all 3. Done for you lead generation for local businesses. So why is that hitting all 3? Number 1 is who is it for? It's for local business owners. 2, what is the outcome? You get leads. It's a lead generation platform. And 3, why does it work? Because it's done for you. I take care of all of it, so you don't have to worry about anything. And that's a headline that'll pull leads. Number 1, what does it take to be successful? This was the most common question this year. People ask me this almost everywhere I go. Sometimes the wording changes a little bit, but that's the heart of the question. So I've got some good news, some bad news, and then a 5-point formula for success. So the good news is you don't have to be born with an entrepreneurial spirit. You don't have to be born super intelligent. If you want to launch your own business and be an entrepreneur, I fundamentally believe that that is a skill that can be cultivated and developed over time, meaning you can build the skill. You don't have to be born with it. The bad news is few people have the perseverance to see it through. Let me say it more bluntly. Few people can take the pain because there's a lot of pain. So I've got this 5-point formula that I feel like if you could do each of these 5 things, you'd be on a really solid foundation for launching a successful web design and digital marketing agency going into 2023. So here they are. Number 1, pain tolerance. Go into it knowing that you're going to have to do stuff that you don't like doing consistently for a long time without quitting. And if you can go into it with that degree of pain tolerance to just see it through, I feel like that's probably the most fundamental component to this 5-point formula is pain tolerance. Number 2 is emotional control or emotional state control, because there's going to be high highs and deep lows, and you don't want to make any decisions when you're feeling overwhelmed, right? So like if you're overwhelmed and you make a decision, those are the decisions that tend to cause really negative consequences to your business. In fact, even quitting. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, sleep on it, or take a run, or split some wood. Whatever you do, don't make any decisions until you settle down. So that's my tip about emotional control. Number 3 is focus. Focus. You gotta stay focused. Don't constantly shift gears all the time. Like shiny object syndrome will keep you broke. Enough said about that. Number 4, develop solutions. I think another thing that happened with the pandemic is the concept of like selling a website and then upgrading to marketing services later doesn't work anymore. Nobody wants to do that. People need results fast. They need confidence in being able to get the results. So develop the solution first. Like we've been talking about, take 3 to 5 things that you do really well, bundle them together into like a solution or a product, have people buy the product, and that way they know what the result is going to be up front. And if you can do it that way, you'll be able to attract much higher paying clients on a more consistent basis. And then that brings me to the 5th point, which is when you do your marketing, market the outcome of the solution that you just created back in step 4, rather than the list of services that are included in the solution. And if you could do those 5 things, I think you'd be on a really solid foundation for moving into 2023 with an awesome web design and digital marketing agency. So I put together a quick video. Check this out, and I'll show you exactly how to build a solution, like what I actually mean by solution. So check that out. I'll see you right there.